I'd like to welcome all of you to the ABC, which actually stands for the Adult Bible Class. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking your precious time out just to listen online to this teaching. May God bless your heart and your soul. Today, I'm embarking on a series called Journeying through the 66 books of the Bible. My aim and my task is to take one book at a time and then finish teaching it within 45 minutes time frame. This is where I covered all your prayers on this. And since there are 66 books of the Bible, and if I take 22 books in a year, this will mean I will finish teaching it, the 66 books of the Bible, in 3 years. So my plan is to teach 22 books in the first year, that is 2019, from the book of Genesis till the book of Isaiah. Then in the second year, I will take another 22 books. So by the time we come to 2021, I will be able to finish teaching the 66 books of the Bible. Remember, the study of each book of the Bible is more on telescopic rather than microscopic. In other words, I will give you more of a bird eye view on each book rather than going on the detailed study of each book. And just in case you miss the class, you no need to worry. All you need to do is to go to the YouTube, type Tabernacle of Grace, and then click subscribe. Then go to our church logo, click on it. Then you will find all the past lessons plus our past Sunday sermons will be all inside there. Okay, so much for that. Let us begin with the first book of the Bible, which is called the book of Genesis. Today, my text is taken from Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 to verse 3. It says here, "Thus the heaven and the earth and all the hosts of them were finished, and on the seventh day God ended his work which he had done. He rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done." Then verse 3, "Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made." Shall we pray? Father, this morning we thank you for your grace. We thank you that you have gathered each one of us right at your feet. May you anoint us. May your Holy Spirit anoint the speaker, the hearers, and the readers. We give you all the praise. We pray in Jesus' mighty and glorious name. All God's people say, Amen and amen. I will begin with the introduction first. This is where I'm going to show you a few things concerning our Bible. Number one, our Bible is a miraculous book. It's a miraculous book. Do you agree that the Bible that we hold our hands is a miraculous book? Do you know, down through the centuries, many men had tried to destroy this Bible. Do you know that? Yes, many had laughed at it, scorned at it, even ridiculed it, even make laws against it. Some even banned it, and some even go to the extent of burnt it. And yet, The Bible is still around today. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible? Yes, man had tried to destroy it and get rid of it for many, many years, and yet it is still found in our hand. Does that not tell you and I that God is in perfect control of all things? That nobody can destroy this living Word of God, which is called the Bible. And this is exactly what Jesus said in Matthew 24, verse 35. Heaven and earth will pass away. Yes, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. So we have seen the Bible is a miraculous book. Now, secondly, we are going to learn and we're going to see that the Bible is also a mysterious book. Now, why I say it is a mysterious book? Because just think of the way how the Bible was written, how it was preserved right through the years, and how it was compiled. Do you know God spent a period of 1,500 years and He had used more than 40 human authors just to finish writing this 66 book of the Bible. Now think of it. Using more than 40 human writers over a span of 1,500 years, and many of whom, talking about these authors, don't even know each other. Some of them don't even meet each other. Many of them living at different time zones and at different places in different countries. And all was writing, and yet the Bible is still one book with one theme, and that is salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. I mean, no human beings can ever do that unless God is in it. Don't believe, try asking 40 people, staying in the same place, in the same time zone, writing on the same thing, and at the end of the day, all will be writing different things altogether. Am I right? And this is why I say the Bible is a mysterious book. It is a God's given book to all of us. And I would trust that you will treasure the Bible, that you will read the Bible, you will study it and meditate on it. Why? Because the blessing knows no bounds. So we have looked at the Bible, that it is a miraculous book, that it is a mysterious book. Number 3, it is also a multilingual book. A multilingual book. Do you know the Bible is the most translated book in the world? Yes, more than 2,000 languages have been translated concerning the Bible. So we have seen the Bible is a miraculous book, a mysterious book, a multilingual book. Lastly, it is a magnificent book. A magnificent book. Are you aware that the word Bible is not even found in the English Bible itself? You may ask, how did we actually get the word Bible in the first place? How did the Bible get its name? Well, it came from the Greek word called Biblos. Biblos. It's a Greek word. And that's where we get the word books. So the Bible is actually a library of books. And it contains a lot of books inside. To be precise, the Bible itself has 66 books in it. Not only the Bible has 66 books, it has 1,189 chapters. And it has 31,175 verses. And it has 810,697 words. And it has 3,566,480 alphabets. May God bless the soul who took time to count the words and the alphabets. May God bless those souls in heaven. Now, the Bible has two main divisions. If you look at the Bible, there's the Old Testament and there's also the New Testament. The Old Testament has 39 books, while the New Testament has 27 books. The Old begins with God. Remember that. The Old Testament begins with God. This is found in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. While the New Testament begins with Christ. So the Old Testament begins with God, while the New begins with Christ. You can read that in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. But why the Bible call it Testament? Well, we have the Old Testament, we have the New Testament. Why there's an Old and why there's a New? The word testament means covenant. It means agreement. The Old Testament, when we read it, we must bear this in mind. It was an agreement that God made with Israel. It was an agreement God made with Israel. And when we read the New Testament, remember the New Testament is an agreement or a covenant Christ made with the church. So the Old has to do with Israel. God made a covenant with Israel, while the New has to do with Christ, making a covenant with the church. The Old Testament focuses on the laws, while the New Testament focuses on grace. From Adam to Abraham, remember, it is 2,000 years. We will call it the history of the human race. From Abraham to Christ is another 2,000 years. We will call it the history of the Jewish race. From Christ to this present age, it is another 2,000 years. We will call it the history of the church or the history of the chosen race. Now let us look at the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, we have 39 books. It has been divided into 4 main sections: the laws, history, poetry, and prophecy. The law has 5 books, history got 12 books, poetry got 5 books, prophecy got 17 books. We are talking about the Old Testament. So the laws consist of the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which starts from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. When it comes to history, it has 12 books, which are Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 King, 2 King, 1 Chronicle, 2 Chronicle, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. When it comes to poetical books or poetry, it has 5 books, which are Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. When it comes to prophecy or the prophetical books, it has 17 books. And out of these 17 books, again, it is divided into two sections, which we call the major prophet and the minor prophets. Major prophets got 5 books, minor prophets got 12 books. That makes up the 17 prophetical books. Why we call it major and why we call it minor? It is because of the size of the book. So under the major prophets, there are 5 books, which consists of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentation, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Minor prophets got 12 books, which consists of Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. So we have looked at the Old Testament. Now we are looking at the New Testament books right now. The New Testament has 27 books. Again, it can be divided into 4 main sections: the Gospel, History, Epistles or letters, then number 4, prophecy. The Gospel has 4 books, which are the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The History got 1 book, which is the book of Acts. Under the section of epistles or the letters, it has 21 books. Again, this epistle can be divided into 2 sections. One is called the Pauline epistle and also the general epistle. Pauline epistles or Pauline letters, there are altogether 14 of them. Some say 13. But I will stick to 14 of the books. They are the book of Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus, Philemon, and Hebrews. Whereas under the general epistles or the general letters, that means written by some other people, there were 7 of them. These 7 letters are James, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, and Jude. And the last section of the Bible is called prophecy. There's only 1 book, and that book is none other than the book of Revelation. Now, with that in mind, let us quickly jump right into the book of Genesis. This is the first book that we're going to study. And the whole book of Genesis can be easily outlined under 2 points. Number 1, we're going to look at the general overview of the book. Number 2, we're going to look at the general outlines of the book. First of all, let us look at the general overview of the book. Do you know why the book of Genesis is placed right at the beginning of all other books in the Bible? Why? There must be a reason for it. So there are few reasons which I'm going to present to you. Number 1, it is to explain to us how everything begins. Incidentally, the Greek word for Genesis means beginning. When you look at the word Genesis, it means beginnings. That's the Greek word. It means origins, the source of all things. That's what the word Genesis means. So the first thing is we see in the book of Genesis, the first thing we see is the beginning of everything. It talks about the beginning of the world, the universe, plants, animal, human race, and also nation, languages, agriculture, music, marriage, family, civilization, government, the beginning of sin, death, murder, and war. Most of all, in the book of Genesis, we see the beginning of the Jewish race. In the book of Genesis, we see the beginning of the Hebrew race. And all this beginning is found right in the book of Genesis. It tells us how everything begins. Now, not only we learn that the book of Genesis is the beginning of everything, it also tells us the beginning of generations. You can see the genealogy of Adam in chapter 5 verse 1. You can see the genealogy of Noah in chapter 6 verse 9. You can see the genealogy of the sons of Noah in chapter 10 verse 1. You can see the genealogy of Shem in chapter 11 verse 10. You can see the genealogy of Terah in chapter 11 verse 27. You can see the genealogy of Ishmael in chapter 25 verse 12. You can see the genealogy of Isaac in chapter 25 verse 19. You can see the genealogy of Esau in 36 verse 1. And you can see the genealogy of Jacob found in chapter 37 verse 2. Now, we have seen how everything begins. Number two, the second reason why Genesis is placed right at the beginning of all other books, it is to inform us concerning the existence of God. Yes, the existence of God. The book of Genesis tells us concerning the self-existent God. It says here in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, in the beginning, God. You see how the Bible introduced God to us. It says that God was already there even way before the beginning ever existed. In other words, nobody created God. Nobody. Yes, man can never create God. If man can create God, that is not God at all, but an idol. An idol. Because an idol is man-made. An idol is made by man. Number two, the book also tells us that he is the creator God. Read in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And God created everything out of nothing. And this is what we call creation. See how God created this world in 7 days, just through his spoken words. God spoke and it came to being. And this is all found in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, verse 6, verse 9, verse 11, verse 14, verse 20, verse 24, verse 26, and verse 29. Whatever God said, all came to being. So we have seen the self-existent God, the creator God. Number three, the book also tells us that he is the triune God. The triune God. The word triune means three in one. That's where we get the word Trinity. You can read all that in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and verse 27. You can see God used the word us. Let us create man in our image. So here you can see we worship one God and yet in three persons. So why Genesis is placed right in front of all other books? Number one, it explains how everything begins. Number two, it explains the existence of God. Then number three, it is to refute the evolution theory. Because in the evolution theory, it denies that God created everything in this world. In the theory, evolution theory, it says that man gradually develop from the lower forms of life like that of an ape. Now, this is not what the Bible says. The Bible says God created man from the dust of the earth. Yes, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. All in one day, God created man in full stature by breathing through his nostrils the breath of life. This is how man came into being. This is how God formed man from the dust of the earth. And evolution also says that everything evolved over million and million of years, which of course the Bible refutes that, is speaking against that, because we know God created this world in just 6 actual days. Then on the 7th day, God rested. And this is what we believe. And we don't believe what science believes. Then number 4, it is to reveal to us the enemy of the Bible. The enemy of the Bible. Who is the enemy of the Bible? It is none other than Satan himself. Do you know Satan hates the Bible very much? Yes. Why? Because it is through the Bible that the Bible revealed to us who the devil is, who the devil was. It revealed to us the true color and the true nature and the character of Satan. That's why the devil don't like the Bible. The Bible calls the devil in different names. The Bible calls the devil as snakes, as lion, as scorpion, and as dragon. All these are symbols of Satan and the devil. In fact, the devil hates only 2 books in the Bible. One is found in the book of Genesis. The other one is the book of Revelation. Because it is in the first book of the Bible, it talks about his entrance to the world. Then it is right at the last book of the Bible, it tells us his exit, his ends. This is why the devil hates the Bible. Yes, we have seen the general overview of the book. Now we come to the last point, the general outlines of the book. The general outlines of the book. The book of Genesis can be divided into 2 main sections. One is called the four notable events, chapter 1 to chapter 11. Number 2, the 4 notable people, chapter 12 to chapter 50. So let us look at the first one, the 4 notable events, chapter 1 to chapter 11. The time frame here is about 2,000 years. Here the stress is the beginning of the human race, chapter 1 to chapter 11. There are 4 major events that happen here. Number 1, you can see, is the facts of creation, chapter 1 to chapter 2. It tells us that God literally created this world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. On day 1, he created the light. Day 2, he created the heavens. Day 3, he created the earth, the sea, and the plants. Day 4, he created the sun, the moon, and the stars. Day number 5, he created the fish and the birds. Day number 6, he created the animals and the human beings. Day 7, he rested on the 7th day. That's all about the facts of creation, chapter 1 to chapter 2. Now we see the fall of man in chapter 3. Martin Luther said this: chapter 3 of Genesis is said to be the darkest page in human history. Some call the book of Genesis chapter 3 the earthquake of the Bible, because it is through the Adam and Eve's sin that changed the whole course of human history. Now let us look at the result and the consequences of sin. This is found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 14 to verse 19. You can see the judgment was passed on the devil. Chapter 3, verse 14 to 15. Sometimes we wonder why the snakes have to crawl on the ground. It is all because of what God said to the devil, what God said to the serpent. And as a result of that, today you look at snakes, all of them crawl on their body. Number 2, the judgment was passed on the woman, found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. God said to the woman, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire will be your husband, and he shall rule over you. Have you ever wondered today why there is the childbirth pain? Yes, why the woman had to be subjective to the man? Why the men are more stronger, more muscular in terms of strength than the woman? All is found right here. Then again, because of sin, the judgment was passed not only to the devil, not only on the woman, but also on the man. This is found in Genesis 3, verse 17 to verse 19. So here you can see God pronounce judgment on the serpent, on the woman, on the man. Have you ever wondered why our garden, the land that we have thorns and thistles bringing forth right from the ground, coming out right from the ground? Why? All because of the curse of God on the ground, the curse of God on man. Today, men have to work, men have to sweat. It was part of God's curse until the day we die. The Bible says we'll return back to the ground, we'll return back to the dust, for dust you shall return. So there's so much about the facts of creation. The fall of man, the flood of Noah is found in chapter 6 to chapter 9. Then number 4, the flop of Babel is found in chapter 11. We have seen the 4 notable events. Now the last point of this book is the 4 notable people. Chapter 12 to chapter 50. This time frame is approximately 300 years. This section stresses the beginning of the Jewish race. First of all, Abraham's faith, chapter 12 to chapter 20. Abraham was known of his faith right here. It is found in Hebrew 11 verse 8. He exercised his faith in 2 areas. Number 1, he exercised his faith on the promised land. Yes, God promised him a land. Found in Genesis chapter 12 verse 7. God said to your descendants, I will give this land. This was the promise of God to Abraham. And again, after Lot left him in Genesis 13, and again, God said in Genesis chapter 13, verse 14 to verse 17, you can read that at verse 15. For all the land which you can see, God told Abraham, I give to you and to your descendants. For how long? The word is forever. Yes, I will give this land which you can see with your eyes and to your descendants forever. Forever. I don't care what the world say. I don't care what people say. This land will forever belong to Israel and to nobody else. Yes, Abraham exercised his faith concerning the promised land. He also exercised his faith on the promised lad, L-A-D. That is the son. And you and I know he waited for 25 years just to have Isaac. You can read that in Genesis 21, verse 1 to verse 7. Yes, we have seen Abraham's faith. Now, number 2, Isaac's favored. Chapter 21 to chapter 27. I'm sure I'm sure Abraham and Sarah must have loved this son very, very much. And it was through this one son that the Jewish race was formed and filled the entire earth. Yes, we have seen Abraham's faith, Isaac's favored, then number 3, Jacob's family. Jacob's family, chapter 28 to chapter 36. Here we see Jacob's name actually means a deceiver, a crook, a cheat. That was what Jacob was. So you can summarize Jacob's life in 3 ways. Number 1, he was a supplanter. Then number 2, he became a servant. You remember he served Laban for many, many years. Number 3, you can see that later he became a saint, a supplanter. He became a servant. Later on, he became a saint. He became a great man of God. Never, never underestimate what God can do through a man. Yes, God can change a man. Yes, the real breakthrough came when he was at Peniel, when he was wrestling with God in Genesis chapter 32, verse 30. And that's where God touched him, touched the hollow of his thigh, and dislocated the joint and made him cripple all the rest of his life. Jacob was broken. That's where God can use him. You see, you and I, if our life is not broken, God can never, never use us. And that's what we learn from the life of Jacob. We need to be broken. And through our brokenness, God will begin to bless us. And the same way, you can see through his brokenness, God begins to bless him and gave him the new name Israel. And through his sons, his 12 sons, God formed the 12 tribes of Israel as it is today. Yes, we have seen Abraham's faith, Isaac's favored, Jacob's family. Lastly, let's look at Joseph's fate, F-A-T-E, Genesis 39 to chapter 50. Now, as you look at Joseph's life, it is a mirror of our own life as well. Ask yourself, have you ever been forsaken by your family? Have you ever been falsely accused? And what is your response to all that? Will you be able to respond the same way as Joseph did? Have you ever learned to trust God in the midst of the great trial and problem that come by your way? May I encourage you, never, never take your eyes off God. God will definitely see you through. All God's people say, Amen and amen. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Amen.